Hi, reading friends. Welcome back. Today we are continuing our quest in learning about informational text. And just to get you thinking a little bit, your schema, thinking more about informational text and how to find key details in the text, I have a short video that I want you to watch, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So this is on asking and answering questions. All right, so our text that we're reading can answer a lot of questions, but then we might have some questions to ask of ourselves. We call those wanderings. So we've talked about wanderings before, like I wonder why a dog needs a bath once a month. I wonder why a vet needs to brush the dog's teeth. I wonder all of this information. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is not just asking questions or answering questions, but kind of doing them together. So let's take a look at our learning target. It says, I can find key details in a text. And we have been talking all week about key details are just the important parts that I find in the text. So I can answer and ask questions such as who, what, when, where, why, and how. I will know I have it when I will write a question about my reading. So today is not just answering questions, but in order to be successful today, you are going to ask a question and write a question. And I'm going to lead you through that process a little bit. And that's just what our success slide says. To be successful today, we need to write a question, about our reading. So today, of course, I've started with our nonfiction slide, and we've talked about all the things that we could read about that are nonfiction, such as certain people, geographic places, special things, or even animals. Today we're going to talk about I am wondering. As I read a book, an article, or a text, I will sometimes wonder about the information that I read. I will wonder what else has happened. I will also ask myself questions about a topic. So today we're going to take a look at elephants are giant mammals. And I'm going to do a think aloud with you, just like I would do if I were reading the book. But this is going to help you kind of gauge yourself on when should I answer a question or when should I ask a question, or what kind of questions should we ask. So let's dive in and talk about elephants are giant mammals. The one thing I notice is this heading right here says take a look. In just thinking about that heading, I'm already in my mind thinking that they want me to notice what an elephant does, to look at the elephant. Let's see what we can learn from these pages. It says elephants are covered with thick gray or brown skin. So this elephant is a little bit more brown. This elephant is a little bit more gray. They have long noses called trunks. This is their nose. Elephants use their trunks to breathe and make noise. They also use their trunks to grab food and suck up water. So yesterday I talked about whenever you see a bold word, you want to take a note of that. You want to notice what that word is and what it means. So it says elephants use their trunks to breathe and make noise. I already have schema for breathe. I breathe. So they're going to use their trunk to breathe in and out. Now, already I have a question. I don't know if you're thinking the same question I am, but I wonder if they're breathing through their nose, how do they suck up water? Because when I get water up my nose, it burns. It hurts, especially like in the shower. If I breathe in and I get water up my nose, it hurts. If you've ever been swimming and you've accidentally sucked in a little bit of water, it might make you choke and cough. So I'm wondering, how in the world can an elephant suck up water and breathe out of its trunk? Now, it's not going to answer that question for me, but that's a question that I could write down so that I could research it later. So on my note-taking paper, in my journal, on my Post-it note, I could jot down that question. So let me change that to where you can see it. But my question says, what or how can an elephant breathe through if I could spell today, through their trunk and also suck up water? Now notice that my sentence has a question mark because I'm asking someone, how can it be possible that an elephant can breathe through his trunk and also suck up water? So when we're asking a question, remember we have to put a question mark. All right, let's read on and see what we can learn about elephants. If I look at the pictures, remember Mrs. Steck always said, look at the pictures, look at the captions. What is it trying to tell us? In this picture, it says this guy has bigger ears and bigger tusks. This guy has small ears and smaller tusks. So that tells us there are two kinds of elephants. Let's read and see what those are. It says there are African and Asian elephants. So here is Africa, here on the map, and here is Asia, kind of up here at the top. So Africa is over here, and Asia is up here. It says African elephants are bigger than Asian elephants. The two kinds are different in other ways. And we notice that the African elephant has bigger ears and the Asian elephant has smaller ears. So we can compare and contrast those things that we notice. All right, let's look at the next one. It says growing up and up. So I'm assuming this is going to talk about how babies get bigger. It says baby elephants weigh more than most adult people. The mother teaches her calf how to live in the wild. So what is a calf? It is a baby elephant. That is important. Elephants live in groups like a family. Adult elephants in the group help keep the young ones safe. And then our captions say, mother elephant keeps her calves close to them, and elephants can travel a long way to find water in Africa. So, as I'm reading through this, I kind of have another wondering that it really didn't answer for me. I wonder, how do elephants get their food? And what kind of food do they eat? So we're going to type that in as a question. How do elephants get their food? And what kind of food do elephants eat? So there we go. We have a couple more questions of wonderings that I'm thinking about. So my wonderings and my questions, I might say, I wonder how, I wonder why, or I wonder when. So let's look and see. This one is, I wonder how, I wonder what. Those are the questions that I had. But your sentence starter might start with how, why, or when. And you would still end that sentence with a question mark. So today we're going to move into guided practice. And the person who is with you today, your teacher, the person who is monitoring you, is going to be passing out your article today, which is on hammerhead sharks. With this article, there is also a question sheet that we're going to work through. Now, with your article, you do not have the annotating tools that I have, but you can still use your pencil to underline or your highlighter to highlight important things that you see from the text. All right, if you need to pause the video in order to make sure that everyone has their paper, you can go ahead and do that now, and then we will work through the passage together. All right, so the title of this article is Hammerhead Sharks, and I can see the picture of the hammerhead shark. Let's go ahead and jump in and see what we're going to find out about the hammerhead shark. There are many different species of sharks. Species is another word for kind. So I could put kind in that sentence. There are many different kinds of sharks. One very unique species is the hammerhead shark. Their name comes from the shape of their heads. Their heads look like the top of a hammer. Kind of like if you were taking a hammer to hit on something, you would have the top shape and then you would have your stick. So they think that it looks a little bit like a hammer. The shape of the shark's head helps with its predatory habits. So that means it helps it to navigate and find food. These animals are carnivores. They hunt underwater animals such as stingrays. Another benefit of its head shape is it has better vision. The eyes are on the far side of its head. So here's an eye, and over here's an eye. So they can see for a very long distance. The eyes are on the far side of the head. This makes its vision a little better than other species of sharks. So let's go ahead and let's think for just a second. After reading this passage, I'm wondering if there is another question that you're interested in. One of the questions that I have is, how big can a hammerhead shark be? You may be thinking of other questions about a hammerhead shark, and you're going to be able to write those on our next page. Let's go ahead and look at our question sheet. Number 1 says, how is this shark unique? Well, I remember the word unique in my passage, so let me go back and let me find the word unique. There it is. So I could highlight this whole sentence because it would answer that question. One very unique species is the hammerhead. The name comes from the shape of their heads. So what is unique? One very unique part, we might have to add the word part, is the shape of their head. So let's go to our question sheet and let's type in that answer. I'm going to blow that up just a little bit. So one unique part is the shape of their head. All right. So if you want to go ahead and pause the video, then you guys can take a second and you can write that answer. One unique part is the shape of their head. All right, welcome back. Let's look at number 2. Are the animals plant eaters, and how do you know? Well, I know that we have read some other articles that have talked about herbivores and carnivores. So let's go back and let's see if we can find that. Oh, some of you have already said you remember what it is. So it says right here, these animals are carnivores. They hunt other underwater animals such as stingrays. So we can circle that. They hunt underwater animals such as stingrays. All right, so let's write that into our question. Are the animals plant eaters? No. All right, so we agree that it is no, they are not. No, they are not plant eaters. How do you know? They eat underwater animals like stingrays. Okay? This is also where you could put text evidence, where you could have said, the article tells me they eat underwater animals like stingrays. So you do not have to write that part, but let me show you what that looks like. If my computer is going to work for me today. So using text evidence, I could say, this article said the hammerhead shark eats stingrays. That would actually be the text evidence from the passage, but you do not have to write that extra sentence since that is not part of our learning target today. But I wanted you to see how you could answer that, and we will be practicing that more when we do our text evidence unit. Okay, you can go ahead and pause this video if you need to give everybody enough time to type in their answers or write their answers on their own page, and then we will look at number 3. All right, for number 3, this is where you are going to get to write one question you have about hammerhead sharks. Now, this is the part of our learning target that we want to be able to be successful with. I will write a question about my reading. So if you are able to write a question about your reading, then that means you have mastered the target for today. So what is one question we could ask about the hammerhead shark? Now for me, I said, how big can a hammerhead shark, I cannot type today, shark get? How big can a hammerhead shark get? Now, could you say, how big? Would that be a complete sentence or a complete question? No, because you didn't complete this sentence. I don't know what you're talking about. So make sure when you write your question that it is a complete question sentence. It has all the parts so that we understand it. How big can a hammerhead shark get? How long can a hammerhead shark live? All of those questions. If your teacher needs to add some of these words or ideas on a chart for you, that is perfectly fine, just so that you write a question. Now, if you want to write my question, I'm okay with that since we're working on the guided practice. When you go to independent practice, you will be answering the questions on your own just to check to see if you are able to write your own question to master the learning target. But if you just want to write my question about this topic, you can. Or if you want to branch out and you have another question, that is fine as well. All right, so for independent practice today on your own, you are going to be reading a passage about fruit. So you're going to be learning about why fruit are good for people, why we should eat them. And then when you're finished, you are going to answer a couple of questions. So you're going to have 2 questions to answer. What do all fruits have on or inside them? You should be able to go back in the passage and find the answer to that, highlight it, and write it word for word onto your paper. It's not something that you have to come up with on your own. It should be right there. Number 2, why is fruit a healthy food choice? Again, the answer should be in your passage where you can highlight it or underline it. Why is fruit healthy? It should tell you in the passage, and you should be able to write that exactly how it says from the passage. Then on number 3, what is one question you still have about fruit? So it can be any question. However, it has to be in the form of a question, such as how, when, what, where. Any of those question words can be your keywords to start with, and then you can ask your question. Okay, so I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and do that. Before you do that, don't forget that we need to do a self-reflection on, was I able to come up with a question on my own about the fruit passage? That's our goal for today. If you were able to write your own question and it made sense and you used your question mark, then you are a 3. If you needed a little bit of help, you weren't really sure what to write, you are a 2. And then if you really needed a lot of help, you couldn't do that by yourself, that would be a number 1. So don't forget to do that reflection piece before you leave this lesson, just so that we know how everyone is doing. Even if you want to, you could put your level at the top of your fruit question page. So on your fruit page, like up here somewhere, you could put if you're a 3, a 2, or a 1, so that we can see those when we take those up and look at them. Okay, so go ahead and read your fruit page. If you finish early before others, you are more than welcome to get out your reading baggies and take a look at some books that you have to finish your time out. I will see you guys soon. Have a great day.